Alright guys, I'm back with my review of this week's WWE Monday Night Raw for April 1st, 2013, the go-home show for WrestleMania. And this show was it wasn't a bad Raw. I mean, any time other than this week it would have been fine, but as a go-home show to WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, the biggest week in wrestling out of the entire year, it just fell short in my opinion. And Cena cut a promo, Rock cut a promo, felt generic to me. Their match at Mania, there's no heat there. It's just, they're doing it again to draw money, and I just don't really care that much about that match. What else is there? Brock versus Triple H. You can feel a little bit of heat there. It's an interesting matchup, but it's still, definitely nothing compared to Punk Taker. Punk Taker is the match that's selling WrestleMania, I think. And that's the only one where they're actually doing something. You can feel like CM Punk is trying to get into Taker's head, and Taker's getting frustrated. And after what Punk did to him on this show, it feels like they're actually doing stuff for that angle. Everything else is just kind of weak. There's nothing there. But yeah, as far as this show goes, there was a lot of squash matches. None of the matches were really stellar or anything like that. Jericho-Cesaro was a decent match. Crowd wasn't really into a lot of the matches anyways. But match-wise, it wasn't a really impressive show. And I understand they have to build up some Mania stuff. And I thought they didn't really do a great job with that either. So, kind of just I would say it was a good Raw. But for a go-home show to WrestleMania, it was definitely average. So Cena comes out and he gets booed like crazy. He says it's a house divided with Cena-crats and Rock-publicans. Ugh. He talks about beating The Rock and how The Rock's going to have to deal with the loss like he did. And it wasn't really a bad promo, but at one point he got a boring chant and the crowd just booed the shit out of Cena this entire time. And you could kind of feel like WWE, I wouldn't even say teasing, but it kind of felt like there was a heel moment or two in this promo with Cena when the fans were just booing him. And you could kind of feel something like that. And I know there's a lot of rumors of Cena possibly turning heel at WrestleMania. I wouldn't get my hopes up. I would love to see it. I think everybody would love to see Cena turn heel, but I don't think it's going to happen. Like I said before, I think Brock Lesnar is going to cost The Rock the match at the next pay-per-view, and The Rock's just going to beat Cena here. And then they'll build up Brock versus Rock for next year's WrestleMania. That's really what I'm going to stick with. I'll have my predictions video up later for the whole show, but yeah, I would not get my hopes up for Cena turning heel. Orton, Sheamus, and Show versus 3MB. I love Big Show's Titantron, where it just shows him knocking out Brodus Clay and Santino. That's awesome. But very predictable match. Orton RKO's Slater. Sheamus bro kicks McIntyre, and Big Show knocks out Jinder Mahal for the win. The Shield comes down and cuts a promo about how Sheamus, Orton, and Show, they're not a real team, and they're going to lose at WrestleMania. It was okay, I guess, but the thing about this promo is they cut it from the crowd, and they should never do this again because the fans just kept yelling things around them, and it's very distracting. They announce a Zeb Coulter versus Del Rio match later for some reason. And we get a video of Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger in front of the White House. They talk about breaking Del Rio's ankle and how they will usher in change with Swagger winning the title. Stryker interviews Del Rio and he says they have freedom of speech, but he will answer at Mania or something. He calls Zeb a pinata and says he will break him. Daniel Bryan versus Dolph. They actually got an AJ is crazy chant. And she doesn't even sell it. I couldn't believe this. She actually got a chant. The fans did not care about the match. But they actually chanted AJ's crazy. And she did nothing. And what a wasted opportunity. If she would have reacted and been like, shut up, they would have gotten louder. And they would start to do this on every show. And if you're a babyface or a heel, you want a reaction. And they finally got a fucking reaction and she did nothing. Just such a waste. I couldn't believe that. I was like, AJ, please do something. Sell this. And she just kept staring at the ring. And oh my god. Daniel Bryan gets Dolph in the tarantula at one point. AJ skips around Kane and Big E charges into him. Daniel Bryan kicks Big E through the ropes and Dolph rolls him up, holds the tights for the win. Big E lays out Daniel Bryan afterwards, and Kane gets in and tries to chokeslam Big E, but he pulls his hand away and hits Kane with his move too. Shawn Michaels comes out and says, after Triple H put his career on the line, he got concerned. Triple H comes out and says he knows that he's kind of in the same situation Shawn Michaels was in, but he can handle it. And Shawn says it's not the same at all because Taker respected him and Brock respects no one. He says he will be in Triple H's corner, and then Brock comes out and Heyman says Brock will beat Triple H into retirement. Triple H will disappoint everyone, including his wife, but he should be used to that. And he says Triple H should have walked away, but at Mania he won't be able to walk away. Miz versus Barrett is the pre-show match. I gotta give Miz credit though. He was on commentary. The next match is Barrett versus Zack Ryder with Miz on commentary, and I gotta give Miz credit. He was selling the match. I mean, he was trying to get people to care, and that's got to be tough when you go from being the main event at WrestleMania to the fucking pre-show, and you got to go out there and get people excited about it, or try to be excited yourself. I mean, that's got to be tough. But Barrett hits the bullhammer on Ryder for the win. Santino tells Vicky and Maddox that Vince McMahon is here and he's pissed, and he may just fire one of them. But it's an April Fool's joke, so to get back at Santino, they put him in a match with Mark Henry. Henry squashes him. Ryback comes out, and Mark Henry says he can't touch him because of the no contact clause. So Ryback picks up Santino and uses him to push Mark Henry out of the ring, and then throws Santino on top of Henry, and he says, "I didn't touch you, stupid." So that was the final build for that. Well, they'll probably do something else on SmackDown with that. CM Punk tells Stryker he doesn't give a damn if he's disrespecting the memory of Paul Bearer, and he's getting inside Undertaker's head. He says Paul Bearer's streak of waking up every morning is over. I couldn't believe that line. He says he will do whatever it takes to defeat the Undertaker. Zeb Coulter versus Del Rio. Swagger attacks Ricardo. Del Rio's distracted and tries to fight him off. And Zeb grabs Ricardo's crutch. He starts beating Del Rio with it, so he gets disqualified. And then Swagger gets a crutch, and they're both just beating the crap out of Del Rio. It was actually pretty funny to see Zeb kind of just hitting him like that. But yeah, they just beat him up and leave welts all over him. And then they leave. So I'm curious what they're going to do on SmackDown with this, but if they don't really touch any more of this, then I'd have to say Del Rio probably will get the win at WrestleMania because they really beat the crap out of him here. Rock comes out and says he's going to curb stomp Cena at Mania. He talks about being president, says he's going to light the title on fire, roll it into a fireball, and shove it up Cena's ass. And the camera cuts to a little kid, and right as Rock finishes this line, this kid goes, "Bitch." And I kind of thought, oh man, that's not good for a PG show, but I don't know. It was very, very generic promo. I didn't really care, and I'm a fan of The Rock, but this was nothing to it. Jericho versus Cesaro. Fandango comes out to score Jericho's moves. Jericho kicks him through the ropes and makes Cesaro tap to the walls of Jericho, so Fandango gets in the ring and he just viciously attacks Jericho, hits him with 2 leg drops off the top. I thought he looked great here. There is a WWE game, Rockpocalypse, where you play as The Rock and you're fighting bad guys in a studio or something. It's for the Android and the iPhone. I just downloaded this game, and it's been a long time since I've done a video game review. I will do a review of this game. I haven't played it yet, but it's free, so I figured what the hell, I'll download it. And the reviews do not look positive, but I'm going to play through the whole thing. Funkadactyls versus the Bellas. Terrible match here. But I have to say, it feels like these women really hate each other. I don't know if something ever happened backstage between them, or they just don't get along, but I don't think they like each other in real life. And one of the Bellas got a busted nose, and Cameron is very unsafe in the ring. Maybe that's what it was, I don't know, but just a bad match. One of the Bellas reverses a crossbody by Cameron for the win. Undertaker comes out and says Punk may end the streak, but he won't live to talk about it. And Druids come out. And Undertaker's like, what the hell is going on? And then you hear Paul Bearer, and Heyman comes out, dressed like Paul Bearer. And he looked just like him. And Undertaker is pissed. So he walks up the ramp, and Heyman has the urn. And then he starts attacking Druids, and one of the Druids is CM Punk, and he attacks Undertaker and beats him with the urn. He dumps the ashes on top of him and then rubs some of the ashes on his body. And the thing is, despite all of this, CM Punk was still getting cheers. There were still CM Punk chants. And it's kind of one of those things like, what the hell do they have to do with this guy to get people to really, truly hate him? But yeah, if it's anything more than this, I'd say fuck it. Don't do anything more than this. If people want to cheer him, then let them cheer. You've taken things pretty far with this whole Paul Bearer thing, and I would just leave it at that. I mean, after the match, I wouldn't try to get Punk any more heat by doing things with dead wrestlers or anything like that, because this was pretty out there stuff. I didn't think it was too bad. I mean, that's just me. I wasn't offended by it. I know wrestling does a lot of tasteless things, and this is just one of them. I mean, it didn't really bother me, but I know a lot of people were really pissed off about this, and I guess to some people this was crossing the line, so they should, just to be on the safe side, they should probably kind of stay away from stuff like this in the future. At least as far as the whole ashes thing. And it was really soon after the death also. That's another thing that I think really offended people, is they did this so soon. Literally, I don't even think it was a week after Paul Bearer died that they did the thing with the urn. So it was just a really bad timing thing, I guess. But they didn't have anything else for Punk Taker, so they said screw it. But anyways, as far as this Raw, it was okay. I mean, it didn't really hype me up for WrestleMania or anything like that. I'm not super pumped for the show, but it's going to be a 5-hour show, counting the pre-show. My God, it's ridiculous. And I think there may be a TNA show this weekend, and I know the Ring of Honor pay-per-view too, so it's a huge week for wrestling, but this show just didn't really do anything for me. So that's my review of this week's Raw. I hope you guys liked the video. I'll be back with my predictions for Raw and the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. And also, I will put the link to the Facebook page in the description. So add me on Facebook. So I hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on the show in the comments, and thanks for watching.